Hey, folks, welcome to the Generational Gap. I am Robert, your resident Gen Xer, and right over there is John, our resident millennial. John, how are you doing this evening?
Fantastic, of course.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
You've not been fan fucking tastic for a while.
yeah. Well, this
Just
whole
checking
quarantine
in.
thing, you know how that is.
No, tell me about it.
Well, I can't go anywhere except for work, so that kind of sucks.
And where would you normally be going if not to work?
That's the thing is I don't have like a set like things that I do when I go out. It's just kind of like people invite me places, and I'll be like, all right, yeah, yeah, let's go there. That's fine. And then that doesn't happen anymore for like the last 2 months. So
Well, am I correct that like you would be going to the target the archery range if they were open, but
yeah,
they're not
of
open
course.
right now either, are they? Anyway,
No, no, no. And they would be closing in about a week anyway for the summer.
yeah. So
So,
so there's that. So, um, I mean, it's not like you went to a lot of places. Like you would go to the movies every once in a while.
right, go to the movies or go to the bar, which I
The
didn't even do
bar,
that. I didn't even do that much,
no,
just because it's cheaper, not to.
right.
But, if I'm with a group of people or whatever, yeah, we'll go over there and play pool, and, have some drinks and stuff. But
Uh,
generally speaking,
Jake,
yeah,
Jake,
I didn't go out too much. It's more of like the fact that I can't now means that I really want to.
we got Jake from Freedom Scoop popping in for a moment. He's at a
Hey,
car show. Does that
gay.
that doesn't sound very socially distanced, does it?
Well, all the cars are 6 feet apart, right? So.
Yeah, but there's that whole part where do that. Well, is it your typical car
Also,
show? Like,
cheers, Jake.
are there hot chicks there hanging out by the back end of cars and the models? Sorry, I shouldn't say hot chicks. Sorry, ladies. Models. I'm a little bit into my drink tonight, so
What are you drinking there? Coke?
iced tea.
Iced tea.
Yeah. So, who is hitting me?
You're a little into your cups, yeah. A little in your cups.
Yeah, you
I
know
always
that
like that expression. In your cups.
into your cups. Yeah,
Yeah, you're in your cups.
just hanging with his pregnant wife. So it is.
Wait, your wife's pregnant again? Or
She,
no, no, she hasn't had the baby yet,
she
I
didn't have
guess.
the baby yet,
Yeah, I was gonna say, what are you having,
right?
like Irish twins?
Right.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah. Yeah.
Peyton Me
That's a rough
models.
one. That's a
Nice.
rough one.
Oh,
Um,
dude, Midget B pulling off the Chad Peyton models.
midget. Okay, John. I'm gonna
Oh,
bust him out.
Jesus.
I'm gonna bust midget out.
Oh,
I'm gonna
shit.
expose midget right now.
Oh, shit.
So did you see that he had posted a picture of a big ass caterpillar that he had on his plants on his roof?
Yeah.
All right. So just between
Uh-oh.
you and me, he reached out to me to ask me a couple of questions on the sly, and I kid you not, John.
Uh-huh.
He's like that proud little papa. He's
Aw.
he's like, well, is it okay? Is it, it's doing this, and I'm like, no, no, that's fine. That's just what it does. And he's like, okay, and but I'm like, I'm getting this feeling from him. It's like he's loving this caterpillar. He's
Yeah.
like, oh, I want to see it turn it. Now, don't tell him I told you this, right? I
No,
mean,
I
I don't
wouldn't
want
dare.
this to get
Yeah.
out and get back to him, but it was adorable. I'm
That's
gonna use the
adorable.
word adorable.
Well, see,
Um,
midgets like me, like hard exterior, but then when it comes to animals, like total softy, you know. It's kind of like that. Feel like, like mostly come across as like apathetic and, you know, don't really care about things, but then with animals though, it's totally different.
okay, wow, and
And I'm
I'm he got eaten by a bird. No, he didn't. I'm telling you. He can't find it. The last I heard,
um
he had walked away and then it was gone, and he's worried. But there's a 90% chance that this thing has just gotten into such a good hiding place to build its chrysalis that
I do have a question. Why do you say it like that? 'Cause you said it several times that
what
way. Chrysalis?
chrysalis. I
Yeah,
don't
I've
know.
always heard. I've
That's how I grew up hearing it in the
oh,
Midwest, I
okay,
guess.
because I've only ever heard it chrysalis before.
That's probably the correct pronunciation, but I've just always chrysalis. It's just that's how it's
Yeah, no, fair
always
enough. Yeah.
when I was growing up.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, it's possible, but birds won't eat them. That's the thing, midget. Bear that in mind. Birds don't eat monarch caterpillars because they taste nasty. Birds don't like them. They know
Hmm.
if something was going to eat that caterpillar,
It'd be one of the
the
cats, probably.
wasps, the wasps.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
You don't think one of the cats, because he's got two cats? No.
Cats won't eat that. They're the bitterest, nastiest tasting thing.
It's probably
Um,
good for the
but
caterpillar,
the
though.
wasp, a wasp will get it. I've actually seen wasps carrying
Ugh,
caterpillars off. But
crazy.
you would see evidence of that more than likely because that was a big caterpillar. More than likely, it's gone somewhere where you wouldn't think to look for you. Why would it build its chrysalis there? Like a lot of times, it doesn't even. They don't even build them on plants. We'll find them up in the like up at the eave of the house or up
Right where
along
the
the
wasps
siding.
are.
Yeah, just sometimes, yeah. Uh, that tends to be the case with the sulfur butterflies that we get in. Those really get hit by the wasps. So I don't know if they've got a smell to them,
Yeah.
but no, just the most unusual places. They don't like necessarily doing it on plants if they have something else nearby, but plants in a particularly sunny spot, like he was telling me that they were in, other plants will be a great place because they'll get under the leaves. I don't know. Maybe there's a chance something got it, midget, but I doubt. Just keep the faith and keep looking. You'll be surprised. It might be there. It's one of those things where have your wife come and look too. I mean, have Rachel get out there and see.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. Have her a second set of eyes. And, sometimes that's what does it.
Yeah, and that fresh perspective, where to look and such.
But yeah. So anyway, so he's enjoying it though. It was nice to see that little soft side to midget.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. You won't see it often, but
Yeah.
it does exist.
I'm not going to tell him that the caterpillars are Jewish. That would just ruin things
That
for
would
him.
ruin everything for him.
Right.
Yeah. The
Straight
Judah
from
pillar.
the. Oh my God! Did you just say that?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I didn't think it was gonna work until like I finished the word, and I was like, "Yes, nailed
Hold on. So I had
it."
this weird thought. Okay, and this weird train of thought about the Jewish faith, and
Oh
help me
God.
follow along. So Jesus was a Jew,
Yes.
right? And then
Yeah.
he was crucified by the Jews as a
Yes.
heretic, basically as a heretic. But
Basically,
okay.
yeah.
So here's my thought. If anybody was ever worried like that the Illuminati or anything like that, like the Jewish
Conspiracies and whatnot.
conspiracy
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
looking to take over the world was a bad thing, it's like, but if it's Christians, is it okay? Because aren't they being led by the biggest Jew of them all? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Is
you're
it?
saying like the Christians would be safe
Well, no, I'm just
because
saying, is
of
it any
I don't
better
know what you
that
mean.
if you don't want the Jewish overlords taken over, isn't it just as bad for the Christian overlords to take over because it's all Judaism in the end anyway, right?
Oh, Jesus was crucified by the Romans, not the Jews.
Right, by the Romans. So he was a Jew, but
Right, but wait, weren't the Romans, especially in Judea, Jews? I honestly don't know too much about that era of um history, or especially
I
of that
know
region.
I know the Romans were involved. Like, wasn't he
Because I
sold?
mean,
He
what?
was
Because
sold
once he
out
got
by the Jews to the Romans or something.
well, he was sold out by
Judas.
Judas, yeah, who
Hmm.
was probably a Jew.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, so isn't everything? Anyway, I
But
just
the
thought it
thing
was.
was, like, once you got conquered by the Romans, you uh became Roman citizens, and so you'd be considered Roman. So just by saying like the Romans did it doesn't say anything about their faith or their ethnicity. Just says that they had Roman citizenship, as far as I understand it.
And Midget says that's a point of serious contention. I bet it is. I can
Yeah,
imagine that it is. And, but surprisingly, what's not as big a point of contention is to the fact that he's most of the time portrayed as white, and I'm just like, wow, nobody gets
yeah,
it.
it probably wasn't. Yeah,
Nobody gets it.
but that
Nobody
was
likes.
mostly, yeah, that mostly had to do with like the English and you know their whole everything needs to look like us deal. Whether Christians are just Jews 2.0, whether Christians over any consideration owe any consideration to Jews. Well, they owe the first half of their book to Jews, so I mean, there's that.
How about it? That was 2,000 years ago. Move on.
Yeah,
I,
get over
I
it.
mean,
It's all
it's
about
like,
Scientology, guys. If you
man.
go, we can go down to the testing site tonight, guys, and I'll get our thetan levels tested and join Scientology. That's the way to go.
I mean, you're competing with people that don't necessarily believe the Earth has even been around that long, and you're you're worried about what happened back then. Yeah, no, yeah, it's funny shit. So are you ready for more big money print? So they approved $484 billion today, going towards more business funding and saving businesses. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
fun, guys. Fun.
everybody's stamping their feet because they're getting the talk keeps going about $2,000, $2,000 a month, $2,000 a
Well, what's
month. So
fun?
antsy people.
Yeah. Well, what's fun is, I've got a bunch of coworkers that I obviously work with, and I kind of use them as like my window into normies, and what normies kind of, or I guess how they consume media, like the standard, legacy media. And so what then their thought process are most of the time it's just parroting what's being said. um One of my coworkers actually last night, because I worked overnight, um he first of all he asked me, oh, who are you going to vote for, and I was like, oh shit, I'm totally avoiding this conversation. But I did mention that I'm probably going to vote third party, probably going to vote libertarian. um that I always do that, and that kind of always shuts down the conversation, because as soon as you just say one or the other, then you're gonna
Right.
get that like backlash of oh,
Right.
how can you vote? Yeah. Anyway, um, so yeah, he was saying because he's usually pretty not on the Trump camp, uh, but he was like, if he keeps giving me money every month, then I'm voting for him, and I was like, That's what it takes. I mean, if that's what I guess that's what convinces you. Obviously that's a very shallow thing. Um, you know, Basically like, hey, if you bribe me, I'll vote for you.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, so that's an interesting kind of mindset, I guess, that especially for someone who doesn't know about politics, or you don't follow a particular ideology, you're not well educated on different ideologies. I mean,
Well,
that can certainly work to the average person of,
well,
give me money and I'll vote for you.
I think a lot of that has to do uh, pot- potentially with the fact that a lot of these bills that are going through right now, well, in regard to the money, um, they're being seen as bipartisan, right? Like
Hmm.
everybody's involved with this. They're getting passed, through both houses and both House and Senate. It's
Right.
going through, getting to the president's desk. So ultimately, he's the one signing off on it all. Now, if it were contested, like if it were heavily contested shit, not in the middle of a pandemic, then it would be about, okay, the Democrats got this bill through. Then it's going to swing, support for their side. But in this instance, this right now, it winds up polarizing people to see just him as a lightning rod, making, signing off on these things that
Hmm.
all the smart people in Washington got together and said was a good idea. So it's these are our politicians hard at work right now. That's where our focus should be on as far as support, right? Or on your representatives in Washington,
Yeah.
right? and
And that's kind of what Cameron's saying there.
everybody's tuning it right to Trump.
That's kind of what. Well, but there's a reason for that, right? That's why it's so dangerous to see the president as the end all be all, the ultimate authority, is because you first of all, anything that happens is attributed to the president, whether that be a good thing or a bad thing. And so that's why people will see, oh, Trump is giving me this money, even though yes,
Right,
Congress is the one doing it,
right.
but Trump is seen as the ultimate authority, and so all credit goes to him.
So this is ultimately what I believe is a negative aspect. This is backlash from the mainstream media that has spent so much time
Yeah,
attacking him in his presidency. They vilified him to such an extent that now he is a figurehead and a focal point in a
yep,
time of crisis. So, I mean, nobody's, everybody is starting to take a back seat to anything about how fast did Trump respond. It's almost like, okay, yes, everybody, it's become this 50-50 talk. Yes, it took him a little bit to get on board because he was more worried about trying to keep the economy focused.
yeah,
But he got on board and now he's been making things happen. Because, there could have been strong arguments made that he didn't take this seriously in the beginning,
sure. But
right?
the
But
point
that's
is, though,
going
it
away.
shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what he's doing. He could be, juggling and riding a unicycle for all anyone should care,
But
because it's not, you know what I mean. Like it's not. He's not personally involved in like doing
right.
things. You know what I mean?
Well, it's
He's basically a figurehead. He's basically someone who, like the press briefings are, a good example of that. Just coming out and kind of trying to keep everyone
right,
calm and, you know, saying, "Hey, here's what we're doing," but he's not the one actually doing anything. So
right,
even if he didn't take it seriously, other people are, especially, people like the CDC,
right.
things like that. That's their job to do. And he just kind of comes out and gives the American people a report
Sure.
on what's going on.
And disagrees with it some, or
Yeah, yeah,
this,
but
that,
even if he disagrees,
and
who cares?
right.
Doesn't affect what's being done.
But that's the vilifying effect of mainstream media. It has made
Right.
him this. You've seen the Rocky movies, right?
Oh yeah. I
Okay.
love those movies.
So name off people. Name the villains of the Rocky movies. Any
Well,
of them.
Apollo Creed was the first one.
But was he right?
I
He got
mean,
devilified in part in Rocky
and
2,
part
right?
two, yeah, but in the first one he was, and he wasn't
He
even
was
really a villain. It was more, it
right,
was actually more of
right,
the case of the personal battle, where
right.
Rocky was his own villain.
But he had a redemption movie, right? So he was
Yeah.
still a villain. But who else have you got? Who are the two main
Um,
ones that everybody? Who's the most
you
like the
got the Russian guy and Mr. T.
right? The Russian guy,
Yeah.
Ivan Drago, right?
Ivan Drago was his name.
Like
Yeah.
people remember those iconic things about the Rocky movies. The villains, who he went up against. That's like the first thing that jumps in your head. Whenever I think about Rocky, I think Ivan Drago, Mr. T.
Yeah.
Apollo Creed comes in third, but that's because of that he got softened up.
I was just
But
going in order of the
yeah,
movies when
I
they came
figured you
out.
would. Whenever I asked that, I realized that you would. So,
Yeah, and then there
but
was
yeah,
what was his name? Machine Gun. Uh, Tommy, like I think it was Tommy Gunn. Tommy Gunn was his name.
right.
The fifth movie, right? I think that was the fifth one.
But you vilify these people, and so they are the standout. And so whenever something good happens to people, like that stimulus check, or now even this, check this out. So if somebody's governor goes ahead and starts loosening restrictions in their state, this is even a positive for Trump because he already put out a three-stage plan to start opening things back up. So any governors that do that right now are just following in his footsteps, his advice, and his plan. So even now, things that are happening are going to start happening at the state level. People are going to look and say, okay, Trump got things going. Trump got solidifying votes, all these little actions he's taking. Um, and yet I still see the vilification trying to happen, yet it doesn't carry enough weight for me because I've stopped reading into it. Like I'll look at the headlines and I'll see, and now I understand. A discerning reader now can understand what a headline is trying to shock you into reading with, right? And get subtle clues from it. But I see a lot of these attack articles about Trump and his administration, and I'm like, this is just mixed in with all the misinformation. I've learned that misinformation is nothing but the vehicle by which this virus is spreading. That's what fucked us on this virus. Misinformation is what did it all, and so I'm not
Well, I mean
feeding into it.
that's one of the unfortunate uh, consequences of having a free press.
Right.
And it's a price you have to pay. I mean,
Sure. But I
if
think
you're
a
gonna
lot
let
of
people say what
people
they want, then there's gonna be misinformation no matter what, and you just kind of have to account for that.
a lot of people are not doing that anymore. They're not
Yeah,
feeding into it either. They're just sitting and waiting, and they're looking at they've locked into the places where they need to get their relevant information, their local, state information, county information that's dealing with the coronavirus, what you have to do in your local area. Everybody is starting to follow that line. And then the President Trump coming out with his updates throughout the week, people are tuning into that, they're watching that. That's they're starting to focus where their information, and you can see the impact on the headlines because they just don't seem to like really carry any oomph. And I'm starting to see more run of the mill, so and so said this and so said that. It's nothing to do with politics, it's just some celebrity this or some stupid this or some study this about some bullshit that doesn't matter, just all the run of the mill headline shit. I don't know. Even the media, I think, might be normalizing on this, might be normalizing a little because they're not going to have, they can't fight big money. They can't fight Donald Trump putting money in people's hands. You
yeah,
can't make him a villain when he's standing in their face looking like Robin Hood. Right. I mean,
right, yeah.
it's you can't do it. Cameron says a second Great Depression is looming. I agree. There is the potential for that. The
There's
economy will
potential.
remain.
Go ahead, finish
He
off.
says the economy will remain largely closed for the next few months. Even if some states reopen, it will be slow, and the majority still don't want to go out. Unemployment at the moment is like 15% minimum. Yeah,
So there's a few things. You know, those being true and those staying constant would absolutely cause a second Great Depression. But that's the thing is, it's not going to. Um, Largely with the unemployment thing, that has to do with people being temporarily laid off so that they can receive those benefits. And as soon as that business that they work for opens back up, they'll get their job back. So that you'll see the unemployment plummet quickly as soon as things start opening back up. Um, and saying the majority still don't want to go out, um, I'm not sure what you're basing that on. But so yeah, obviously some people will still be scared of getting it if we start reopening, but the vast majority of people believe the authorities and that if they say it's safe to go out, then most people will start going out. At least as far as like my observations. So obviously I could be wrong, but that's
right,
where I see it going. I don't think that the economy will remain largely closed for the next few months. Most businesses, even major corporations, can't afford that.
right,
Even the ones that are open now, they're not making as much money as they are, and they have shareholders. They have shareholders to that hold them accountable to their profits.
right.
So
Well,
they need to be open, and
sure.
they need to be able to sell everything.
Presumptive
Because
Democratic
like
presidential
I don't know about
nominee Joe
here, but I
Biden
know a
said
lot
in
of
a new
places they'll
interview
section
that he would
off
have
like
no
non-essential
hesitation picking former
items so you can't purchase them. You know, so I'm not sure what they're doing in this state when it comes to that, but I know in a lot of other states they're doing that. You know,
Well,
so they need to have people go out and buy things to maintain. I really think that you're going to see a huge crowds start forming, and we saw that with the beaches, right? When the beaches opened up, big crowds. Now, obviously, there were those pictures that were misleading, using stock footage.
Well, you know,
things
they
like that. But
Australia had to re-shut down like three of its largest beaches that they had open. They had them open for a couple of days, but they had to re-shut them down because people weren't listening to what they
yeah,
were
well, they're
telling
not going
them
to.
to
Yeah.
do, right? And so,
If I'm
but
not mistaken, though, Australia has like no almost no numbers when it comes to cases.
well, they're holding their own. I think they're still dealing with it.
Well, they're
Um,
already pretty
I mean, they
isolated,
gave it
and
to
they also
Tom Hanks.
don't
They gave
exist.
it to
So there's
Tom
that.
Hanks, John. What more?
They
How much
did.
worse could it get?
Well, he brought it over there to them. He's the reason that
Is don't say,
he was patient
don't
zero
you
over
dare blame, don't you
there.
dare blame Tom Hanks for that, sir. Um, no, it's interesting to me that that it's possible, that we could have some really hard economic times from this, depending on how long it goes on. Um, I find it challenging to believe that the bulk of the American population can practice social distancing positively enough while going back to work and getting the economy back up and running, um, to substantially curb the spread of the virus. Um, I don't have that kind of faith. Um, I don't think it's been going on long enough to have instilled it in them. You know what I'm saying? It's catch 22. That doesn't mean I want it to continue on. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I don't think it's been driven home hard enough for them to go back out in public and be like, okay, I still have to pay attention to this like it's a thing happening. You know, um, so
Yeah.
and that, it is what it is. It's just me. I'll be doing it. It's like I'll just be staying here in my cave for a while till I see that things are handled. Um,
Yeah, and some people will react that way, but I think you'll see the vast majority of people going out and doing things, especially because they haven't been able to. You're going to see this big, you know, uh, spike in people going out and crowding around places.
right. So I don't know if you saw this in show suggestions or not. It was something that Jake posted in there, and I'm going to read this out because I thought it was very interesting.
Oh my
And
god. Okay, well, hang on one second though, because Cameron's saying today has been the highest single day infection total for the U.S. Over 37,000 Americans have been diagnosed with COVID-19 today alone. That's because the tests are much more widely available,
right,
so it's a lot easier to see who's had it and who hasn't.
right.
That has nothing to do with like the fact that it's still going around and spreading like it was before. That has to do with the availability of testing.
I mean, it does speak to how much it's spreading around, or has been
Right,
spreading
has
around.
been,
But
right. Not like those that many people caught it today.
I mean,
Like that's not
well,
what that
no,
number means.
well, see, no, I'm sure he knows it doesn't mean that caught it today, but a large percentage of that number is probably people who were becoming symptomatic. Because a lot of places like here in Florida, you have to be symptomatic to, starting to run a fever or something like that to be able to get in for one of the tests because it's
Well,
not
not
just,
anymore.
uh,
Um, I forget where it was. I think it was in one of our discords, either our private one or the generational
where
gap one.
Tenchi was talking about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
where it
that
was like
was,
at the mall. You can
yeah,
go there and get
but
tested.
you
You
have
have
to
to make a
make it
reservation.
right.
Right,
But
but that's just
but
to
you had
make
to
sure there's
do
no crowding.
well. You had to do that you had to do that at the other two locations that they've been doing it here in Orlando as well. But there was still a requirement about being symptomatic or starting to show symptoms, preliminary symptoms,
Sure.
because they didn't just want everybody who's just their them and their cousin Joe coming up just to get a test to see if they got it or not. There's not. I don't know if the availability is there for that or not. But is that specific to your county? Do you know? Or
I don't know. I just saw that it was a thing. I
yeah,
didn't. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I've been waiting to see, when we're going to see some like non-requirement tests, where you don't have to meet any requirements.
Right.
Um, but anyway, so and a lot of people are worried about the economy and where it's going to go and what it's going to do. But Jake had an interesting take on this, so I just wanted to read through this real quick. So it's not so deep that I can't understand it, but it's pretty convoluted, but it seems to give hope. But he was is talking about the economy. At first, he said set amounts of money are relative. So, for example, $5 in 1960 had more buying power than $5 today. That's just kind of we know that, right? But anyway, he says our debt, especially our Chinese debt, is a set amount. Therefore, if we print money and devalue our currency, it devalues our debt. This only happens, however, if other countries aren't doing the same. They are, and some, like China, are devaluing theirs at a much faster rate than us. China's economy is set to retract close to 60%. They have already cut their economic stimulus bailout from 12% of GDP down to 2% of GDP because they cannot afford it. The US GDP sheet number is expected to fall 7.7% in the second quarter, with the global economy projected to fall over 3%, and China taking a hit of almost 18%. Which leaves a net fall for the U.S. of roughly 4.7% economic loss. Um, he says, couple this, however, with the U.S. inflation rate dropping to 1.9% in March and down from 2.3% in February. With gas still in the toilet, our inflation rate is set to be as low or lower than those numbers. This matters because China's current debt is almost 300 times their GDP and their inflation rate is set to skyrocket. So he says, as our debt matures, every dollar we pay them will naturally be worth more of their yuan. But with their radical inflation and our stagnation, our debt becomes a higher and higher percentage of their GDP. This will mean they'll be forced to start selling our debt for less to bail out their economy. Once that happens, our dollar value goes up. Other nations' dollars become dependent on ours, and then strengthens ours from there. When China sells our debt, their value goes down. That will pull down large swaths of the world economy, while our economy stagnates due to low inflation. This leads to higher buying power with our dollar, where we can purchase debt from other countries, leading the U.S. to have a greater income than before. Um, all that makes sense to you?
Nope.
So basically, our inflating our economy right now is quite possibly a good thing based off
Hmm.
this, because if we inflate our money enough, it becomes almost completely valueless when it from a debt perspective, and other countries are already going to be tanking as well. So if China takes more of an economic hit than we do, our debt is not worth as much, so they sell it off because we're looking at lower inflation rates right now. Prices
Hmm.
are going to be going down here somewhat, potentially,
Right.
but oil and gas has already shown us. So they sell off our
That's fair.
debt.
Yeah.
They sell off our debt. We're stagnating. We're not recessing anymore. We're stagnating and hitting a point of, you know, we could call it equilibrium. Stagnation is often considered equilibrium in my book. There's a balance to stagnation, right? Um, but then we build up our strength by buying that debt, through other countries. We'll own the debt. Their value is going to be based off our dollar, like it always is, right? I mean, that's usually what you go up against. The euro was there for a little while, but I don't think it's as strong as it used to be for that, right?
Um, I believe that the euro is slightly less than ours. I'm not. Let me look that up because I don't want to say the wrong thing. Usually I don't mind if I'm wrong, but let's see, US dollar conversion.
Let's see, can't
Yeah, we were slightly more. 83 cents per dollar.
right.
So 83 a dollar or one US dollar. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. The dollar is worth 83 cents more than the euro. So 1 US dollar or 1 euro is worth $1.83.
I think it's a very stock market kind of move to make. Devalue our economy, our money so much that our debt becomes a viable, leveraging tool later on down the road.
So welcome Ron Helton and Elephant Man. Elephant Man says, "Sorry, I'm late. How dare you? I shake my fist at you." Um, oh, what a tangled web we weave. Yes, indeed.
Cameron says the risk to the
Yeah,
economy at the moment is deflation, not inflation, and I get that to a
but
certain extent.
I was gonna ask for clarification on that,
Well,
but
yeah,
that's fine.
I would be curious, if he's talking about a deflation in the price of things or a deflation in, I don't know,
Right.
because I would see that production is down on more things than not. So we're going to have greater demand for stuff. I would think that during part of this, inflation is going to, it's happening with things like toilet paper. And places are having inflated prices to get their hands on toilet paper,
Yeah.
So there's inflation going on in some areas, deflation in others when you look at the oil industry and the gas industry. Um, but I don't know. What's going to weaken the dollar is printing all this money. That's going to do more to weaken the dollar than any pricing could. Um,
Yeah, Ron Hilton saying the same thing I was thinking.
yeah,
I haven't heard that going around Twitter or anything, but I mean, fair enough.
yeah.
Um,
I
I
mean,
don't know anything about that or the arguments that are made for it, so I'd have to hear them before I can make a,
when it's all
call.
when it's all said and done, when you talk, whenever I think of deflation, I think of it as the opposite of inflation, where prices are going to
Right.
start coming down. And in a situation where we're printing money for the bulk of American people and putting it in their hands, if prices come down, that increases the buying power of the individual because they're getting money on you know like literally these numbers they're throwing around and throwing out to people are inflation level numbers. There's a lot of people on unemployment right now that are like, fuck, I'm making more on unemployment than I was at my job previously. It's it's so if they're getting inflation wages money thrown at them from the government with deflating prices, that's just all to the good, isn't it?
Yeah. I
Deflation
was talking
occurs,
about. Oh, go ahead.
supply is high and demand is low. Yes, some industries are doing well, toilet paper and online entertainment, but for nearly all businesses, much more than just oil, demand is low. Um, and I would argue to a certain extent that um, a lot of that demand that you think is low is not as low as you think because remember, I my spouse works at the big box retailer in America, and there is just as much, if not more, shopping going on in the general merchandise section as in all of the essential items sections of the store because they
Hmm.
have not been restricted in what they're selling. So people are coming in there for a little bit of everything. They're still shopping, but in larger numbers because there's fewer other places to go and shop. So, of course, there's a lot of people. Think about it like this: someplace like Walmart is doing business that Sally Beauty can't do. Right?
Hmm.
There's people coming in asking constantly for stuff that they would normally be
Yeah.
getting at the beauty shop. So think of these different places that are closed up. So you have these retailers that are still open. They're getting that business as people come in looking for them. So, I don't necessarily think that, Home Depot, I've been in there multiple times during this. Well, four times in the last 2 months, which is half what I normally go. Um, People in there just buying the you see them still buying stuff, garden center, throughout the whole place, whatever. So I don't think that the demand is going to be, you know unable to meet supply, especially since people can order it online. It's not like
Hmm.
the supply available online is just as easy as what's in stores. So you know if they're printing money and putting it in people's hands, and they do things like, okay, they're talking about forestalling rent and mortgages for upwards to a year. Like,
Damn.
no rent, no mortgages for anyone. It's going to come out of housing funding to pay all these landlords, you know, and basically, they talked about it for 6 months, but for up, like they're capping it at a year if it had to go that long. But this is on the table. So imagine, if they keep putting money in people's hands and taking debt away from them. You know how many car insurance companies are sending premiums back to their policy members? Like Allstate, $2 billion are going to give back to their policyholders. So people are getting a ton of money put back into their hands right now.
Hmm.
As long as it's there, I don't think you have to worry about the demand not being there for the supply.
Right.
I mean, people are buying shit. I'm seeing it
Yeah.
constantly. My wife is seeing it. I'm seeing people getting done around their houses and shit. Roofers
Yeah.
are coming
And
and water
I've
heaters
done the
hitting
same
the
thing.
into the road.
I've done the same thing. I'm not going to say what it is because it's a surprise for the channel about a year from now, probably. But I just bought like $100, you know, item from Amazon that is certainly not essential in any way. Um, but I decided I wanted to learn a new skill, and so I'll show it off in like a year from now or so. But once I can do it. But yeah, so the demand is there for different things. I don't know. I don't see the demand for non-essential things going down. I think that especially once you're allowed to buy them more accessibly again, you're going to
Right,
see people buying those in excess, especially if they're given money, from the government or from,
right.
whatever automotive business, or, they're not paying rent. So they're not wisely spending that money on other things.
You want to know what my wife said was she, she came home the week that the first stimulus checks were coming out, and she said you'd think it was Black Friday
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
because of all the
Yeah.
TVs that were leaving their store.
Yep.
People buying TVs with stimulus money.
To be
So,
fair, though, that is absolutely essential. I don't know what I would do if I didn't have
but
like a
I'm
TV
just
there
the
in
point.
quarantine.
The
But I
point.
understand. Yeah, yeah,
You put money in the hands of people, and this is what they count on. This is why they've talked about targeted ways of getting money into the hands of spenders. They did. When they were early on talking about some of this, they talked about putting money in the hands of welfare recipients, and they had targeted spending habits. So apparently, they're watching how these people spend their money, and they're evaluating it, and they know that there's a certain sector of those welfare recipients who once as soon as they get money in their hand, they spend it.
yeah,
So they were going to target those people with a whole shitload of money and let them get it out there in the economy. Is toot sweet. That was one of the things. Put money in people's hands and they will spend it. Just because there's not enough stores to go to pick things up or buy things, this is where the internet gets to come in. I mean, I bet you there's a lot of websites, there's a lot of different companies seeing growth on the internet in their shopper base because of this. It has to be happening. You know, my stepdaughter was saying that the place that she works at, it's a fast food place out of California, but it's a burger place down South Florida. They're off the chain right now, and all they're doing is carry out and
hmm,
delivery. But she said their business is nonstop all day long.
right,
And so, we worry that companies aren't making money. Well, the ones that are open, by God, they probably are. If they're open, they're probably making good money right now.
yeah.
And they damn sure don't want to close.
I can tell
Um,
you, my job is making awesome money right now. Hence why I had to work 11 hours overnight, which when usually that would be like a 4-hour job.
yeah.
Um, that's just a testament to the amount of money that we're making because it's that much work.
See now everything Black Friday. Am I racist? No, Black Friday.
Hey
It's a
Ed,
day where sales use.
we know
Sorry, I shouldn't
we
have
know
said.
what it is.
I should have said Brown Thursday because that's what it's become, right?
You
Because
should
it
have said
happens on
African
things.
American Friday.
Is that right? Well, it's not
Yeah.
about them. It's about everybody. Black
How
is
dare you?
color everything together and you get black. Um, Cameron says the majority of Americans live paycheck to paycheck.
True.
$1,200 is woefully low. I get that. I do. But remember, a lot of those people living paycheck to paycheck or not, you give them $1,200 and they are going to spend it.
Oh yeah,
They're flat out going to spend it, and they may spend some of it responsibly on bills, but they will spend other on other things that are that drive the economy. And
right.
it just is. It's
I
the kind
mean,
of culture we've created. You get money, you spend it
right.
because you have to
So
have
saying
more and
that
more.
$1,200 is astoundingly inaccurate. I mean, it doesn't or inadequate. I mean, it doesn't have to be. It's your personal responsibility to use that money,
Well,
to
yeah, but twelve hundred
further
dollars
yourself
is
as well.
twelve
It's
hundred
not a lot.
dollars
It's not a
is
lot of money. No.
right. I mean,
Right.
when you think about it, that's for some people that's a half a month or a month's worth of income, whereas for other people it's a week's worth of income.
I mean,
You
for
know,
me, that's a good normal. Yeah, it's a normal paycheck for
right?
me.
So,
Yeah.
and if you're a person living paycheck to paycheck on that, you got one extra paycheck. So it isn't adequate. I get that. But it's a hard row to hoe when you decide, am I going to completely obliterate the economy and print money till I can't see more, or am I going to open up the country and hope for the best? You know, you, you- you're up against a fucking brick wall with barbed wire wrapped around you. I mean, it's a daunting position to be in. Midget says, "Yeah, you say there's a class welfare dependent consumer who doesn't discern nor make long term decisions." Yes,
I know it's
yes.
crazy, right? It's
Um,
almost like some people are irresponsible.
and Cameron says these people don't have their jobs. Whether they get their jobs back at the end of this is irrelevant because the time until that theoretically happens is far away. That is correct. I mean, yeah, and I understand that. That is why I've said it. Unfortunately, puts the onus on the governing bodies to find some way to support the population that you're telling
Well,
you
that's why they're
can't go to
doing
work,
the
right?
increases in unemployment benefits.
Yeah,
Like we talked about how many people are making more money on unemployment than they were
well,
while working.
I'm not saying.
That is a
Well,
thing.
now hold on. I didn't say. Nobody said more money, more people. I'm just
No, I didn't
saying
say more
there are
people. I'm
people
saying more
saying,
money.
but that is like one of the hardest things to get taken care of right now. Like woefully inadequate systems. The numbers that they've posted of people that have gone signed up for unemployment do not equal the number of people that are out of jobs right now. So that is
Yeah.
something we have to factor in. Is like
Well, bureaucracy.
the
Yeah.
time it's taking for people to get money in their hands. You know, a lot of these states thought that they could continue with a system where they're having people report in. You're supposed to report where you went looking for a job. Well, some states, didn't turn that off, as it were, in their system. That was still a part, you know, but it's caused so much difficulty in the systems. Florida's system has just shot to hell and back. They come out and say we've done a major update. Same day they say that we've done major update, you can spend all day just trying to get onto the site or stay logged onto the site because you know their update was inadequate, completely inadequate. Um, so
Yeah.
that's it's
Bureaucracy.
so you have to ask, when does it become an emergency situation where you've got to put money in the hands of people? You tell them not to hoard stuff. Don't go and buy a bunch of stuff up and hoard it. Okay. Well, great, but I'm running out of money because bills aren't
Yeah.
stopping. The electric company hasn't said we're not charging
Right.
people for electricity right now. The phone, I haven't gotten anything, heard anybody say that their phone service sent them, we're not charging you for your phone services next 6 months. These things aren't happening. And until you shut down all services so that people don't have bills they got to pay, credit card
Yeah.
companies aren't sitting around going, oh, don't worry about making a payment for the next 6 months.
Right.
Um, so you've
Yeah.
got
No, I mean, I
somebody in
understand. Yeah.
power has got to act fast to put money in people's hands.
Well, that's what they're trying to do,
It's
right? They're trying
really,
to do like the monthly stipend.
but isn't it sad that that's what it's gotten to, that they have to, this is like something we're seriously like, okay, you guys need to do this because you haven't gotten us to the point where it's not necessary fast enough, you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing is our government has decided not to move quickly, which in most cases is a good thing. Um, And again, with the yeah, with our bloated bureaucracy, yeah, it's going to take time for things to go through. Um, it's unfortunate. And Cameron's making some good points in here about what happens when people run out of money because they can't, they
Well,
got laid off of their job and they can't,
well,
you know.
that's
And I
that.
had, and he says, $1,200 check took so long to pass through Congress, and many raise his hand haven't gotten theirs yet. I haven't gotten mine either. I am currently living off of the meager paycheck that I'm getting and my savings account to, like bolster that. But that will eventually run out,
But
right?
now see, I will say this. This is one of those things where, number of the beast scenario and all. It's if you don't have direct deposit with the IRS for your income tax return or payment, whichever way it's going to go,
Yeah.
um, if you don't give them your bank account information, yeah, you're going to have to get on there and make sure they have a place to send it, or wait till they send out physical checks because they're doing all the direct deposits first, which, you know, that of course is the easy way for it to have already been into your account. Those are the first ones that they targeted. Get the easy shit out of the way first, right? Um, but it's this catch 22. Cameron was saying, what happens when you've been someone who's been laid off hit $0? Well, a they they should have been taken care. This is what the arguments become. They should have been cashed in on any PTO time that they had. They should have immediately gone on and started trying to file for unemployment. Yes, the systems may be backed up, but they should be on there all day long
Hmm.
trying to get on there and get that filled out so that they get,
Yeah.
because that's an additional $600 a week. And there's the thing right there. This kick about it is like, if you're getting unemployment plus $600 a week, man, you're already getting some UBI
Right.
there,
Yeah.
right? You got to jump on that shit. So they should be doing that, right? There's also now that banks and lending organizations can make almost 0% loans to you. So if you have your money in a bank or whatever, so this is really going to hurt people who are living on a cash only like basis, don't have a bank
Yeah.
account, things like this. Yes, there are
Well, in
people
that
like
case,
that.
you're probably selling weed, and your life hasn't changed much. At least in my experience, with dealing with people like that.
So it's the arguments are there as to where people can get access to money. Um,
Yeah.
and if they're managing it properly, there's that factors in. You can't be beholden to the American public to manage their money properly. And it is one of the things, as I pointed out earlier, that they are counting on, that you're not going to manage it properly, because as soon as they do start putting some money in your hands, they want you pumping the economy. Spend
Hmm.
that money. Um, you know, bill collectors are chomping at the bit for this to happen. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
oh shit, now people be able to pay their bills. you
Yeah. Now there's
know
no excuse. I know you just got $1,200, motherfucker. Like,
well,
don't be
now
telling me I ain't got it
now
because
did you
you
see
got
that
it.
did you see that go around about the landlord, somewhere in the Northeast? I can't remember exactly where it was. He sent a message to one of his tenants, and he said, hey, I saw you got your stimulus check. I just wanted to find out if you're going to be able to make your rent so I can I've closed the books on April. And the guy's like, I got my stimulus check. And he's like, yeah, I had checked on a few people. I was checking up on a few people so I could find out about April's books. And he's like, so you were able to check that I got my check? He said yes. And he said, you needed my social security number for that? And he said yeah. And he's like, where did you check? He's like, the IRS website. And so this dumbass landlord is sitting there letting him know and
That
telling
sounds
him, oh,
illegal.
it's absolutely illegal. And he's taken the guy to court. But
Good.
this is what the guy
Yeah.
did.
Fuck
He
that
was
guy.
checking residents about whether or not they got their stimulus check so he could pump them for some of their rent money.
Yeah.
Knowing, but there's been a lot of cases. This is something that I found was interesting. A lot of increased instances of sex for rent offers.
Oh well, I'm sure. Yeah, I mean that
Right? Now,
also that's
well,
happened.
from the
That's always
landlord,
happened.
from
Yeah, yeah.
landlords, asking for sex
I
in
think
lieu
I've
of
seen
rent.
that once. I think I've seen that once. Something like MILF can't pay rent or something like that. I think I
Well,
saw that
now,
one.
yes, I know that there's a,
You know.
but no, this is there's a women's organization out of Hawaii and everything, and they've been looking at statistics and reports of this have increased. That these landlords. One lady was like, what do I need to do about my rent? This, that, and the other, and he sends her back a dick pic, kind of thing, you know. So,
Oh, that's horrible.
right, but
If you're out there and you're a landlord, don't do that. That's scummy and shitty. Don't fucking do that. Now, if it's offered first, do what you're gonna do there, but
yeah, Ed talked about it on
don't do that.
Contemporary as well, I
That's
believe.
that's extortion. That's not a good thing.
No, no, it's save it for the role play. Do that for role
Right.
play and leave it at that. But but that just goes to point out that there's lots of people that are going to try and capitalize off this thing, right? In their own way, shape, or form. So you know, there's people that are going to be negatively impacted by this. Of course, that's one of the biggest problems with a recession or driving yourself into a recession. Um, but opening it back up so people can get back out there and start doing jobs. I mean, there's very basic fundamental jobs that are not being done. Janitors, right? Those people that you're talking about are doing, low level blue collar work more than likely. So, and those are a lot of the jobs that are shut down right now. It's like, well,
Yeah.
let's if you can get that blue collar aspect back to work, it's going to answer a lot of your problems, right? Um, but it's a tough call as to what to open back up. Put yourself in that position. What do you do? How quickly do you do it? How fast? What do you do? Do you print money? Do you don't print money?
Yeah. No, I mean it's a tough thing. I wouldn't want to be in charge. Like I've said plenty of times, I would not want to be in charge of this.
And ultimately, this gets to be the make or break for Donald Trump's presidency and reelection. I mean, it absolutely everything else gets to be overshadowed. Where perception of him lies throughout this entire thing is going to determine if he wins this next election. Nothing else is going to matter to most voters. It's going to be the here and now and how we're handling this.
Yeah.
And my thought is that if he has this country up and open and back to some amount of building back to normalcy by election day, he will guarantee himself the next 4 years.
Yeah. I agree with that.
So,
Um,
what do you do, John? What do you do? But I
what
have
I do is I'm going to take this opportunity though to make a quick announcement.
Don't do it, John. Don't
Since
do
we
it.
have a bunch
Don't,
of people
John.
here,
No, don't.
I'm gonna do it.
Don't do
It's
it.
happening. First off, if you haven't already, make sure you hit like and I guess subscribe. If you're so inclined. But also, following shortly after this stream, I'll be doing my own drunk stream, Friday night drunk stream. So make sure you grab a drink and come hang out with me.
At,
That
I think at the
won't be
same
as long as the last one. I promise. I'm not going to do that again. That
What
was
if
pretty
at the
fun.
same time you're doing the drunk stream, I come on and I do, because I've been wanting to do one on planting marigolds. So, do you think we could do those at the same time?
That sounds extremely boring. I don't think I want to do both of them at the same time.
Come on, John.
How are we going to do that? How would you
Are you
even?
trying to tell me that you don't like marigolds?
I don't know what a marigold looks like. I
Oh
assume
my
it's a
God,
plant,
John.
but I don't know. I wouldn't be able to pick it out in a
Oh
lineup.
my God, John. You know what? We can't. I can't do this right now. Not what you've taken.
You're just like, I quit and just get
You've
up and
pushed me
walk
over
out.
this. Okay,
Just
so
done.
I have a question for you, and I put this
All
in
right,
the.
I have an answer.
Do you? Do you really?
I have an answer. It might not be correct, and it might not be the one you want to hear, but I have an answer. Yes.
So, what the fuck is Biden? Do you think Biden is going to pick Michelle Obama to be his running mate? Is it the smartest thing he can do to ensure his best chances of winning this election?
Um, I don't know about Michelle Obama. Um, I think it's more likely going to be like Kamala Harris, or
Right.
there was another name that I had never heard that was being touted recently. I can't remember what her name was, but
But now
there
Obama,
was that.
she's the only one he's really gotten excited over. I think he's like
Yeah,
he would
and it would make
absolutely
sense.
love to have her
Yeah, it would make sense. Um, from that perspective,
because
because he was
he didn't say the same thing about Kamala.
right. He probably doesn't remember who she is though. So
It's because he couldn't get close enough to get the scent.
right, yeah, he doesn't have her
He's
scent.
he's got to get he's got to, he does things by smell. Have you not noticed? Um, but no, I don't think she would want to run with him. Okay, I'm just putting it out there, but it's killing me. This. So is he trying to make this about race, gender, or is he just trying to poke the right in the eye? I mean,
Well, no, he's pandering to both race and gender with that. I mean, how like let's see, how orgasmic would it be for the left if the first female president was also black? Because obviously Biden's going to step down or die in office or something, and
well,
whoever the
right.
VP is going to get.
I'm expecting. I believe they probably expect to get maybe 2 years out of Biden. The last 6 months would potentially be a weekend at Biden's kind of scenario where they're just propping him up. Um, but if I were a Democrat and the possibility was even on the table that Michelle Obama would be willing to be his running mate, my thought is that's 10 years potentially of another Obama in the White House, which brought, just like, I don't know, it was like this. It was like that typical thing that you would see on a comedy show where like you just watched everything you said around the race elephant in the room, right?
Mhm.
Right. So like America would just be like, well, we don't want to whip out the race card, and we don't want to. Okay, we'll just keep it on an even keel. A little jabs here, a little jabs there. They jab back. Obama was an okay president when it's all said and done, and then yeah, all right, we'll look at him after it's all done. That's and Michelle would bring the same thing, right? She cares about kids, and she'd be great
Yeah,
from a face value, from an image standpoint. She's
but see,
awesome.
that's gonna damage intensely. Like if say it's her as the VP. Obviously, say Biden wins and Michelle Obama is the VP. I'll say Biden either dies or steps down, and Michelle Obama becomes president in that way. It's going to seriously damage her reputation. Um, it's going to damage the way that she that she governs. Um, Mainly because it's going to be seen as an illegitimate rise to power. Not just
Well,
because she wasn't voted in.
well, I
She
could
was appointed basically, which means that okay, we didn't elect a black female president. A black female president was appointed basically.
well, but see, the beauty there is this is already delegitimized from the very get. The moment he said, "I'm going to tap a woman to be the VP,"
Yeah,
he delegitimized whoever goes into that role.
yeah.
So you're back to square one with whoever goes in that role. Do you want a Kamala Harris in that role? Not necessarily. I
Hell
mean,
no,
if
especially not
if
Kamala
if
Harris.
if you
Fuck
had the
that.
chance to have Michelle Obama in there with the voice of Barack behind her, subtly in her ear, kind of thing, That sounds better in my mind to the establishment. Now, like Ed says, Michelle doesn't want it, and I agree. That's kind of what Biden has said. He's like, "Oh, I think it would be brilliant. It would be great to have her, but I don't know that she wants to be in Washington again. She doesn't want to come back to this." Um, but whatever. He can't make a good choice in this from the standpoint of picking a woman. And the moment he brings race into it as well, he's ultimately delegitimized it to so many of your various sounding boards out in the country, right? So, what is a good pick for him? I mean, is there somebody out there in a female role in our political system that we want
Um,
involved in the presidency? Because
the
she is
the
going to take it.
governor of South Dakota. Can't remember her name, but she is fucking awesome. Let me look up what her name is real quick. Ed will know who I'm talking about because he watched Beauty and the Beta as well on Sunday. I assume. Um,
What makes her so special?
governor of South Dakota. Christy Noam, I think is her name. Let me see. Yeah, Christy Noam. Um, she's been really good about like not shutting down the economy of South Dakota. Really good about like letting people make their own decisions. She's been very libertarian when it comes to this crisis and everything.
Ed says she's hot, is she?
Yeah, she's not unattractive for sure.
Um, so, so here's the thing. Fr- so if I look at my perception of voters, Biden just making the decision to target a woman as VP, and thus any derivative other labels that are going to be attached to her as well. Um, I think that is going to be the nail in his coffin. That's going to be what causes him to lose the race. And the only possible way that he could save it is by bringing the biggest powerhouse. He's got to have a powerhouse woman in that role to combat all of the negativity he's building into her position right now. If he wants to save his election chances, that's just my thought. He can't just have a hack.
Well, I mean, he can't just be like, "Oh, I appoint you because you're a woman." Like that is just not. That's not any kind of metric to base someone's ability to govern.
What?
It's whether or not they're a woman.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Yeah, no, I'm
I mean,
agreeing with you. It's fucking. It's
yeah. So he's ruined that chance, right?
yeah. I don't understand this whole like we need a woman vice president or a woman president, and we need a woman that like why just because they're a woman like doesn't mean they're gonna do a good job.
Everything. If you start watching, you can see it. It's funny. Like Hulu, with the ad level subscription to Hulu, you see these commercials a lot, and I'm telling you right now, women are the new everything. Like
Yeah,
female
yeah,
empowerment it's
oh
like
yeah,
this whole. Oh, it's Me Too was like the just kicking towards it. The ball is
yeah.
flying through the uprights right now. That was
And then the
the
show gets canceled after 2 seasons because no one's watching it
sure, but there's three
because it
more
sucks.
behind it,
Like
ready to
right,
go. Right,
but
strong
it's
female
because
leads,
people
strong female lesbian leads, and
live on Twitter and they think that Twitter is real life and that everyone agrees with things that are said on Twitter.
right.
But it's not the case at all. So when you try Twitter ideas in real life, they don't work, and
Um,
then you just end up spending a bunch of money for nothing.
it's and it's this
But
my
I guess it
like
gets ads, so it doesn't really cost them that much because they get ads playing between the, but no one's watching it, so they cancel it, pump out another garbage show, and then
yeah it's
cycle continues.
Yeah, and it's just amazing how well it's not well, but you know how it's woven into so many different shows. Just
Oh, everything, yeah.
the narrative, the dialogue, the whole everything about women in television
Well,
and shows has really changed a lot.
I don't. That's the thing. I don't think it's actually changed. I think it's just more overt now. Because if you go back and watch something from like the early 2000s when that really wasn't a thing, it's still like in there, but it's not in your face and overtly. It's kind of more subtle, and like if you're looking at like well, we talked about sitcoms on the show before and how they've always been doing that, right?
Right.
With like the well put together, wife and the dumb drunk husband, dumb fat drunk husband especially. You know what I mean? So there's that part. There's just I guess yeah. There's also things like, oh, you don't think I can do it because I'm a woman, and there'll be some kind of like competition where the woman will win. Um, there's just all kinds of different things like that. It's just much more overt now. They don't try and just make it subtle and make it like a sub point of the show. That's what the show is about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so many ways, and that, and of course the LGBTQ community, that gets so interwoven now. Um, and it worries me because again, it feeds into this mentality that there's some sort of reality to what goes on in television because there's argument has been, see, this is where arguments against things really come back to haunt those that make the arguments. So you have all these Christians and all of these other people that are just so appalled by how gritty and realistic TV is getting, right? And it's not good. And we've got to have rating systems and not let our kids watch this.
Oh, I know.
So you tell them that it's gritty and realistic, and then they start watching, and then they start getting this idea that this is realism. This is what real life is like, and their life is not. And they're just in a dysfunctional world because their life isn't like what's on TV. And it's like,
Right.
oh my God. But then you see all now it's like, like the perfect scenario, like every show now has to have, you've got to have multiple obligatory races in the
Yeah.
main cast. You've got to have just the right balance of, some sort of
Tokenism. Yeah.
LGBTQ tokenism, racial
Mm-hmm.
tokenism. We'll probably try and mix in a little religious tokenism.
Which is funny
You
because
know.
the left is supposed to be anti-tokenism, yet they use it more than anyone.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But then I'm seeing other things. I'm starting to, this is also something you're going to have to start watching for. Their, as they incorporate this into the television ratings, and I'm seeing weird things popping up now. Like I was watching something, and it had a TV 14 rating, so it was not meant for kids under 14, and it was because it had suicide and it had smoking and it had drug reference. So those and strong language. Those were those were the four things that it was
Yeah.
warning about. And I'm like, okay, so you have to warn about smoking and you have to warn about. And I'm like, you're saying it's okay for someone 14 years and older, but like you don't want teens watching. Teens are the ones that want to commit suicide.
Teens
You
are the
don't want
ones who
them
want to do
seeing suicide. They're
drugs.
the ones that want to do drugs and smoke cigarettes. Why are you saying
Right.
it's okay for them to watch this? What's
Because they're already
wrong
doing
with
it
you?
anyway, so fuck
Right.
it. I don't know.
Right.
I don't
Um,
know what the deal is with that. I mean, those rating systems are so arbitrary because they just pick like people.
but
It's
they're
like
gonna.
not random people, but people who sign up to be picked.
But the
They'll
newest
pick those
ones,
people and say, okay, rate the show now, and
they've got
it's different every time.
the newest ones have algorithms built in to where it will give warnings if there is any kind of racial bias in the show. New
Really,
algorithms that are going to point out if there is sexism going on in the
that's
show,
fun. I want to
misogynistic
watch those
behavior.
shows.
So
Yeah,
I mean, and these things are getting ready. You're going to start seeing this more in your ratings for television and movies and music, right? Where they're actually using these algorithms, kind of like YouTube uses, I guess, to catch people doing stuff on videos, etc. Um, it's crazy, and I'm like, this is just fucking phenomenal that this is where we've gotten, and then on top of it all, you want us to social distance now. You want us to be further out of touch with community. You want us to be further out of touch with
Yeah.
our groupism versus our individualism. Oh my God. So we've got, all of that tells me that Joe Biden is not making a smart move by deciding he's going to pick a woman. I think that's going to end it for him, like I said, unless he's got to have somebody huge. And I'm not talking fat. I'm just saying she's got to be the woman that even some men can go, well, it wouldn't bother me if she were running the country, you know?
Yeah, Christy Noem. That's my pick.
I don't know, man. See, you're going to require people are have to look at policy. They'll have to look at her track record
Oh
as
no.
opposed to name
Oh
recognition.
no. Yeah, oh no. If only that was the right way to go.
No, I'm completely saying I think Biden was over whenever he made that announcement. It was because Trump hadn't started throwing money yet. Um, that to me is like the biggest. That's the one. That's what's going to win it for Trump. I don't think anything's going to matter if he plays his cards right and he does this right and he helps the American people out in a way that they see as helpful and beneficial to them. Ed, I'm not looking at her policy prescription. I'm looking at her legs.
Nice.
But he's looking through an eyeglass prescription to see her legs.
That's true. Yeah, damn. That's Ed BTFO'd.
But that you have to send me a link to her or something. Because I won't remember her name and I won't go back and watch the show anytime soon. So
Yeah.
so I have to check out these gams. Am I allowed to say gams?
I think so, because that's a word that no one ever uses. So it seems like it would be safe.
Hell, there's a lot of people that won't even know what I'm saying, right? But I have to go check out these games and
Exactly.
see if they're worth looking at. So from the Democratic Party standpoint, though, okay, I see who you're saying. Like you're saying, I heard what John said. If John were going to have to pick a female running mate for Joe Biden, but
Hmm.
who's the best person for the Democratic Party? Is it Kamala Harris?
It's Mommy
Um,
Tulsi.
you think it's Tulsi that they would rather have with him?
I think it would be smarter of them to have. I don't think they want her there, but I think it would be smarter of them to do so.
Why wouldn't they go with Warren? Why wouldn't they push that
Oh my
agenda?
god. Ugh. That could actually work for them, because Warren had a lot of support, but she did already endorse Biden, which means that most of the people who liked her are going to go over there. Um, just shuddery. Ugh. Um, I mean, maybe, but the thing is, she's not a woman of color, even though she is
Is
Native American, of course.
is that enough of a factor? Isn't her just being a woman enough, or does it need to be a woman of color in their eyes or his eyes? Is this his
Of their
decision?
eyes, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. No, no, he's not making decisions. No, come on.
You know,
He would have like a 13-year-old girl as his VP, so that he can be next to her all the time, sniffing her.
I mean,
If that was
he's
the
real
case.
he's real big on just shooting his mouth off, right? So he may have said this, and caught them completely unawares as to this is going to be a thing. But do you think, from the Democratic standpoint, from the party standpoint, she needs to be a woman of color?
Yeah, just because it'll like energize their base to go and vote for him, or at least the progressive side of their base. I'm not sure if like regular, blue collar Democrats care about who the vice president is.
Hmm.
It's all about what the unions tell them, or how the unions tell them to vote.
Well, like I said, I would think that any intelligent voter that was going to cast a vote for Joe Biden has to know that that's a definitive vote for a potential vice president taking over the office. They have to realize that.
Oh, they know. Yeah, yeah.
So that's
Biden probably knows,
she's
or like he's reminded at least once a day. because he needs to be reminded, obviously.
Now, Helton says, of course, Whitmer. Okay, so first, Ed says he's 90% sure the DNC has the running mate pick, and
Oh
he's
yeah, I'm sure.
80% sure it's Whitmer. Who's Whitmer? Is that who you
Interesting.
were talking
I
about? No.
No, no. I don't know who Whitmer is off the top of my head. I would have to see a picture or
But
something.
Helton says, how about we vote for anybody other than blue or red and send a message to Washington? We're tired of gangsterism.
That would
That's
be
a good
nice.
idea, but
That would be nice.
how do you get enough voters on board with that?
It's certainly
Um,
not going to happen between now and November. So, um, Elephant Man was saying, Tulsi might pull on the military vote. Is what he's talking about. That's actually a good point. Yeah, she probably would. Tulsi has the leadership cred. Absolutely. Uh, Tulsi is a dim in name only, right? Which is why she's not going to get picked. Why she wasn't allowed to be a serious candidate, unfortunately. So yeah.
oh, the Supreme Chancellor of Michigan.
Ah, nice.
That's right.
That's
That's where I
unfortunate.
recognize that name from.
Supreme Chancellor of Michigan.
Well, it did bother me when she said that plants and seeds weren't essential. And I'm
Yeah,
like, in a time
it's
like
fucking
this,
dumb.
yes, they fucking are.
Yeah.
Do the goddamn hand gesture. No, no.
Wait, which one?
Because of what he said, Sieg Heil. Oh, that
Oh,
didn't come through on
no, it
YouTube.
didn't. It didn't come
Uh-uh.
through on YouTube. That's
Because he
probably
put
why.
that
It
in there.
probably got, yeah, it probably got filtered.
It got filtered for YouTube. That's
Midget says they'll
funny.
never consider Tulsi. Yeah, that's 100% true. They won't.
Yeah.
She's not controllable.
I don't know. I don't know if.
I guess
With.
she's more unpredictable than one of the establishment people.
With the votes that they've got to try and swing, with a large percentage of their votes being those people who are seeing a $1,200 plus checks going into their hands, to swing that vote, she's going to have to be name recognition. I don't care, even if it's fucking Oprah. You gotta swing a big fucking VP dick to dissuade people from voting for Trump. That's that's all he's got left is who he makes it, what choice he
Yeah.
makes. You know, and I don't know. I don't know if he can. I don't know if he's got anything to make the right choice with. Maybe if he whips out Hillary, everybody will be like, "Oh, you know,
Yeah.
that would be the funny shit right there." Do you think he has? Do you think? You think it's possible? They
I
would.
don't think often. Um, suddenly she's. Oh yeah. No one had heard of her, Tulsi, until the rebuttal to the State of the Union. She's been governor for exactly 5 seconds, and she's suddenly in the news every goddamn day. I'm talking about Whitmer. Okay, not Tulsi. Whitmer.
Mm,
I got you. Yeah.
so
Eighty
he
percent
thinks
sure it's Whitmer.
the DNC machine is blowing her up so
Right.
that. Gotcha.
I got you. Okay, I can see the point. Yeah, I can see that point. Elephant Man says all politicians are hypocrite. Yeah.
They are.
Oh yeah, because Ron had said, quoting or so paraphrasing Tulsi, "I'm against the war in Middle East, but let me stay in uniform, supporting the mission long enough to get my retirement." Politicians. Yeah, I don't, I don't see it that way. Obviously, yeah, it behooves you to be in the military for 20 years to get your retirement, but I don't think that her wearing her uniform was a statement of like supporting the mission. I think it's a way of her getting out, like the hey, look, military. If you're in the military, vote for me, that sort of thing. I don't think that it was necessarily, which I understand. Yes, wearing the uniform, does that. That supports the mission, or at least you can't say anything negative about it while you're in uniform. I think,
Right.
but yeah, I think that's more of a voting ploy than it is anything else.
Helton makes a good point. He says Cuomo is in the news every day. Also, he says
Yeah,
maybe the plan is to replace senile Biden with Cuomo at the convention. You know,
I've heard that. I've heard that before.
I
Yeah.
think it is unfortunate the timing of things because suddenly Cuomo looks like somebody that they would have wanted to have on stage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, people in New York are, he's getting some pretty weighted reviews, good and bad from New York, but when it's all said and done, if the president doesn't like you, it means you're doing something right. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, all right. So I don't know. I think it's a dumb fucking move. It's just we're just giving it to Donald Trump. So here's the real question: is Donald Trump going to switch up his VP choice for second term? And
I
if
doubt it. I doubt it. Just because no one cares about Mike Pence anymore. Like when he was first picked, it was, oh, he's, for gay conversion therapy. And that's really all I've ever heard about him. That's really it. Um, Obviously, we don't have like gay conversion therapy camps set up all over the country and ready to electrocute the fruits. Um, that's not really a thing that's happening. So I don't think anyone cares about Mike Pence. So he's, safe. He hasn't caused any kind of controversy as far as I know, except for obviously when he was first picked. But that was going to happen anyway, no matter who was picked. Um, so there's no need to change that. I would think.
you don't,
I don't think so. In fact, I would bet that most people would have to think for a second to remember who the VP was. And the same thing with Obama, with Biden. Other than the fact that Biden was a gaffe machine even back then, not nearly as much because he didn't get the chance to speak as much in public. But yeah, I don't know.
I'm just going to put it out there. If I'm Donald Trump and I want to leave a legacy, I switch it up. I tap one of my two kids who's next in line, and I make them my VP choice. Then 2.5 to 3 years into the presidency, I hand over the reins. I self resign. Just do it because of my health. I resign, hand it over to the
Don't think he's
kids.
gonna do
Then
that.
they can run 2 more terms.
I don't think he's gonna do that.
Watch. That no, I don't think he's going to do that. But I'm just saying, if I'm him, that's what I would do. Why not? I mean, it's a way to shoe in one of your kids as president for 8 years after your term's done.
I think Ed has problems with what you're saying.
You know why he has that much problem with it? Because it could happen. Like it's all conceivable.
I like how Elephant Man saying, fruits, lol, old term, very relevant. Okay, I mean, take it in the crapper, get the zapper. It's another one. Um, let's see. It said electrocute the fruits, so just going with the rhyming scheme.
Mm.
Taking the crapper, get the zapper. There are a couple other ones that aren't coming to mind. That were pretty funny.
So
Um, well, go ahead.
I was going to ask Ed. Ed, which one of the kids would you rather see him tap first?
Don Jr. I
Don
would.
Don
Don
Jr. or
Jr. He's a
Ivanka?
funny motherfucker. Don Jr.'s Twitter is almost as good as Trump's Twitter, as Daddy Trump's Twitter.
We're not
It's
we're not
he's
we're not going to become a monarchy, and I will be deceased before I see my country descend into that.
no, a hundred
Okay.
percent. I totally disagree with. I
Were
don't
you,
I don't think that Trump would
were
do
you
that.
saying that same
But
thing when they were talking about Jeb running?
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Was
I
it,
also
no?
knew
I'm
that
saying no,
Jeb
no. I'm
wasn't.
asking Ed
Oh
if he was
okay,
saying
okay.
that same thing whenever
I
Jeb
I
was
bet
looking
I
at
know.
running
Yeah,
to continue
I bet he
that
was.
dynasty.
I bet he was. Yeah, I didn't. That's why I didn't want Hillary or Jeb Bush to be the other nominee because no, fuck that.
But did you notice how they tried
Like a trap, get
like
the
the
zap. Yeah, that's a good one. Like a trap, get the zap.
they tried when the discussion was going on about him making potentially making a run. Um, did you notice how the media at the time like started hyping him up as kind of the smarter of the two Bush
I
brothers?
love the Jeb with an exclamation mark. It's like Jeb.
Jeb
Let's
is a
just shock your love of cock. That's a good one, dude. Midget B's coming on. He's on fire tonight. That's awesome.
nice.
Jeb is a fucking war criminal in training, just like his brother and piece of shit dad. Yeah, 100%. Fuck Jeb. There's a low energy ass.
I
ACDC for LGBT. Dude. That's awesome.
wow.
Oh, man.
Yeah, we're gonna get shut down.
I know. But what a glorious run that would be. Oh, shit.
We're gonna
How
get
did I
shut
get here?
down. Uh,
Hey, saucing on who? How's it going? I don't know how you got here.
uh,
Probably through YouTube, I imagine.
a time portal.
But welcome anyway. Yeah,
Yeah,
welcome.
welcome. It's a time portal that opened up right under your feet, and
And then here you
poof,
are.
there you are watching
Yep.
us. And soon you'll go back to your time. I'm just curious. Did you jump forward or did you jump back in time? I would just like to know. I have some questions.
Jesus, bro. No, midget, but you're looking these up, aren't you? Because there's no way you're thinking of that on the spot. No one's that clever. Feel like, man, the dial is going to 10. This is some good ones, man.
Yeah, he's rooting through his meme folder.
No, I've seen how disorganized that thing is. It would take like half an hour for him to be coming out with those if he was doing that.
But anyway, all right. So, John, I'm tired of talking to your ass tonight. I don't want to do it anymore. Both back, then for what?
Yeah, like Back to the Future.
Wait,
You go back, then forward.
wait. I'm just. I guess that's what I'm trying to figure out. So, is he currently here because he's gone back or forward,
Or
or
is he
is he
forward now?
here
Yeah,
now
we're on
because?
the trajectory. Are you?
Yeah. See, that's. Are you trying? Are you trying? Do we need to do something different to save the world, or are you just seeing how the
Yeah.
effects you obviously already made? Um,
Right.
does
Um.
anything feel different to you, John? Has our timeline shifted?
Suddenly I don't find Pepe that funny. Fuck. We're in the wrong timeline. Shit.
Have a good night, Elephant Man. Hey,
Yeah, see you,
John,
man.
real quick, before I thank all these folks, there's some stuff, some places they can
Yes,
find us. You're doing something after the show,
I am
blah,
doing
blah,
something after
blah.
the show. Probably in about half an hour from now, I'll be doing a drunk stream. Uh, Drinking some of this scotch that I've got, lovely scotch.
Blah,
Um,
blah,
and
drunk.
just hanging out with the chat. Just talking in general. I'm not gonna do another like 8 hour one like I did last week. That was too much. But yeah, I'll be on for a couple hours though. Uh, so that'll be a lot of fun. Make sure you're there for that. I'll put a notification in the Discord when I'm about to go live. So if you're not in our Discord, look in the description below
It's
as
a
you go
lot of
by.
fun.
Hitting like and subscribe if you haven't already. Do all
Some
that
fun there.
stuff, and then you can find our Discord link down there, and you can hang out with us on Discord. A lot of fun, a lot of cool people, a lot of not cool people. So it's totally fun.
Yeah.
Um, I'll let you guys decide amongst yourselves who is who. Um, so make sure you hit that. You can also follow us on Twitter at the Gen Gap P. Uh, you can find us on freedomscoop.com,
Hmm.
who actually bought me this bottle of scotch that I have. Or,
Nice.
well, that's not the bottle, that's just a glass of it. But yeah, so make sure you check us out on freedomscoop.com. And while you're there, you can see other such creators as Jay Edgar, who's been in the chat tonight. You can see Stephen Ignoramus, who's on there as well. Wyatt from Roundtable Decision, who, yes, also showed up moments ago as we're ending. Sorry about that, Wyatt. You can find Already Conservative. He's over there as well. And the Freckles and Brit podcast is over there as well. So make sure you go check all those people out because they're awesome. And you can also buy our merch. We have t-shirts there which you can buy. Which is awesome. You're wearing it, good because I'm not. And we also have mugs that you can buy if you want to show that off as well, Robert. I know you have it.
What?
The
What are you
mug.
talking about?
Yeah, no
What
one can
mug?
see it.
It's
There you
not a
go.
mug. It's a thermal cup.
Well, then that's probably how you found us, Sawson. It's through Steven. Um, yes, so he's on Freedom Scoop as well. You can buy our shirts, you can buy our mugs there, and At checkout, if you put in the code GenGap, you'll get 15% off your purchase, which is fucking cool, in my opinion.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
write that up in a script for you.
Nah, I like the free flow thing. It's
Do
not like
you?
I forget things. I just kind
No,
of
no, no, no. You
bounce,
don't forget a goddamn thing. Good Lord. Goodness
well, I
gracious. I
mean,
almost took a nap.
you know
No, I'm
what?
just kidding. I'm just
No,
messing
you're
with you.
not.
I'm busting your
No, I'm gonna
chops.
go cry now. I'm gonna spend
Are
the
you?
next half hour crying before the next stream.
There's a tear in your beer.
Yeah,
Yeah. All
tear
right,
in my
folks.
beer.
Hey, much love and thanks for coming out. If you didn't hit the like button, please hit the like button on your way out. If you didn't hit the subscribe button, please make sure and subscribe and hit your notifications. Turn those on so you know when we're going to be on the air. It's usually going to be Friday, like we are tonight. We're going to be back on Monday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. John's going to be coming to you right after this in about a half an
Right,
hour-ish or so with
about 25 minutes.
his drunk ass stream.
Drunken escapades. Yes.
Right. But look for us again, like I said, Monday for Shooting the Shit. We'll be back next Friday for our regular episode. There's no telling what'll go on between now and then. Just do yourself a favor. Be safe. Be well. Wash your hands. Stay away from people except the ones you love. Get up close and snuggly with them, as is appropriate for the individual. But anyway, outside of that, John, I'm going to get the hell out of here. Have yourself a good night and peace.
Yep. See you guys.
The war begins.